Today we will build cliff stackers, so you can create mountain walls and elevate the terrain really fast. You only need a bunch of foam and some dirt, so get your tools ready because we are starting. Here we go. I will use 40mm insulation foam boards since they are the easiest for me to get. As I want these pieces to have height, I will glue two of them together. If you already have thicker boards, then you won't need to do this. I'm going to use PVA glue and spread it evenly across the surface. Then we will stick some toothpicks and join the pieces. Finally, to secure the assembly well, I've used thicker wooden sticks and cut off the excess because I have some issues with my first stackers for not securing them properly. Put some weight on top and let it dry for an entire day. Now I will use the hot wire cutter to shape the piece, making irregular cuts with a back and forth motion. This method doesn't give the best results, but it's a quick and easy way to add texture. You also can use the knife from the beginning to shape it. In my case, I will use it now to gradually cut the corners of the stackers. I'm going to leave the top part almost flat, because I want them to be stackable and to place miniature and other scenery pieces on top. Once they have a shape we like, we will prepare a mix of sand, PVA glue and water. The proportions will vary depending on the type of sand, but we aim for a somewhat thick paste. Now, with a coffee stick, we will apply the mix to all the joints to hide them, and also in some random spots to add a bit of texture to the piece. Finally, we will spread PVA glue all over the surface and add sand. I used different grain sizes, but in retrospect, I recommend using only fine sand, because the larger grains can interfere when stacking the pieces. With this done, let it dry overnight and we could start the painting process. That was easy, right? I think this is quite simple, but I hate waiting during drying times, so meanwhile you can start another project like these modular ruins. Anyways, once everything is completely dried, it's time to paint. But before showing you how, I want to ask you for support by hitting the like button, subscribing and turning on the notifications. It really helps me keep making content. As I do in all my builds, we will start by applying a couple of primer coats with a mixture of black acrylic paint and PVA glue. It is important to make sure we cover all the areas where we glued sand to seal the piece completely. If you have trouble getting the paint to penetrate the sand properly, you can always dilute it with a bit of water. Once it's dry, we will use a null makeup brush to apply a neutral grey dry brush to the sides of the piece. We will aim to cover a lot, but still let the black in the deeper parts show through. Next, we will paint the surface of the piece with dark brown. Here, we will use a lot of paint because the sand tends to absorb it, and we want to cover it well. Keep in mind that although I will use a gradient of browns for the sand, this can be done in many ways and will depend on the use you intend for the piece and the final look you want to achieve. Once the paint is dry, we will apply a dry brush with medium shade of brown to highlight the grain of the sand. Then, we will very gently dry brush with a lighter shade of brown to give the final highlight to the details and texture of the sand. We will finish with another dry brush, this time on the stone sides with pure white. After this, we will consider the piece finished, but it's up to you if you want to use some washes on the stone. For example, if your campaign takes place in a humid environment, you can use green washes to simulate moss. However, I consider the piece finished. And there we have it. Before the two pieces I showed you how to build today, I made 4 more. And I have to say that combining these 6 stackers with my hill packs, which by the way I show you how to build in this video, allows me to create scenarios with a lot of verticality. This is very interesting for my games as it adds a very engaging strategic component. I encourage you to try creating your own and to experimenting with shapes, sizes and anything else that comes to your mind. I won't go on much longer today as it is a very simple project and there's nothing much more to add. So thank you very much for watching until the end and see you in another video.